Hi, I'm Daniel, this is Ashville, and today I'm in St. Lucia on a plot of land where I intend to build 23 luxury homes. I bought a plot of land many years ago for which I have ambitious plans. I've been on a property development journey ever since. Today I'm going to share each stage of the process, bringing us up to present day. But to do that, we need to go back to the very start. I was born and raised in the UK. My family is St. Lucian. St. Lucia is a Caribbean island located in between the Caribbean Sea and the North Atlantic Ocean. The capital is Castries and the population is currently 180,000. It's a member of the British Commonwealth and gained independence on the 22nd of February 1979. Growing up, I was fortunate enough to visit St. Lucia many times as my mum wanted me to know where I was from and my family. I've been obsessed with construction and engineering my entire life, and my trips to St. Lucia were no different. I'd always try and work with my uncles in construction, agriculture, and haulage. I started my construction business in 2006 in the UK, and in 2007, on a trip to St. Lucia, I inquired about land in the north of the island. Through a family friend, I was introduced to a gentleman who was selling this 1.7 acre plot you can see on my right, which is located in Bellevue Cap. At the time, I had to stretch myself, but I managed to secure the plot for £120,000, which I paid for with a mixture of a deposit and a small loan. I wanted to pay back the loan, and my main focus was my business in the UK. So for a number of years, there were no developments here. In 2009, the design process started, and there were two factors I had to acknowledge and take into account. Number one, the site isn't very big, and two, and most importantly, it isn't seafront. So there was only one logical way I saw I could use the site to its full potential, and that was to get it as high as possible in order to create more units and give each of them a view of the sea. My construction experience is based on what I've learned in the UK. But when building in the Caribbean, you need to take into account other factors which I didn't previously consider. Storms, heat, sea blast. This is where the wind takes the salt from the sea and blows it inland and it rusts metal. The way around this is to specify stainless steel fixtures and fittings. And finally, utilities. Unfortunately, in St. Lucia, from time to time, there are power cuts. We need to consider this in the build process and for the final homes. I love concrete. I'm sorry, I can't help it, I do. And from day one, my concept for the development was modern and minimalist. I wanted to achieve this with open plan living spaces and white rendered walls, which would not be in keeping with the local architecture, which was colonial. Rather than work against the terrain, it was decided that it would be easier to use the existing rock base and the levels of the land. I have always tried to convince my clients not to go with their crazy ideas, which cost a fortune to implement structurally. But this is my build. And against the advice of my team, in some areas, I decided on a stacked cube concept, which on each new level changed orientation. It wasn't practical to do this in living areas, but we would implement where we could with staircases and non-residential buildings. In my head, I had a clear vision for the residences, but the site itself needed a lot of manipulation to achieve the aspirations of the end product. Now, when it came to the stacked cubes, I did not go with the recommendation of my team, but when it came to the lay of the land, I did take their recommendation. This is what I thought was required for each apartment. Spacious rooms, high ceilings, a light color palette to give people a feel of space in a hot climate, outdoor space and balconies, plenty of large windows and doors to let natural light in, a swimming pool, fully fitted state-of-the-art kitchens, luxury bathrooms, climate control, home automation, security, allocated parking, access to fitness and well-being facilities, backup power on demand in the case of a power cut, and a concierge. I've always wanted a home in St. Lucia, so I incorporated one within the development for myself and my family. And with all this in mind, I approached a local architect and we began the design process, which went through a number of stages. The first draft for the proposed layout had a reception building, 2 3-level apartment buildings, my home, the triangular-shaped building on the right, a fitness and well-being centre with communal swimming pool, which was at the lowest point of the site, and to tackle the significant ground level differences, we used large retaining walls which doubled up as low-maintenance urban gardens. The apartment buildings were made of split-level townhouses on the ground and first floor, side by side, and one apartment on the second floor which sat over their entire footprint. All the units had private pools, which were angled to have a view of the sea. In total, there were 4 townhouses, 2 apartments, my home, wellness facilities, and a reception building. Over time, we reviewed the proposed plans, and after a while, realized it wasn't the best use of space. There weren't enough apartments. My personal residence took up too much of the site. The retaining walls would be extremely expensive to construct and maintain. The wellness building would need to attract members from outside the development to sustain itself due to its size. And it simply wasn't high enough to capture the stunning views of the sea. So we went back to the drawing board in an attempt to fully utilize the potential of the site by deciding on the end goal and then reverse engineering to determine how we would achieve it. We opted for 3 apartment complexes side by side with a mixture of units with floor plans which could be replicated and combined throughout the development. The central building was 6 levels and the units either side 5 levels. This enabled shared structural walls to run through the multiple levels and save on costs, which was needed, as all the apartments, irrespective of their floor level, had private swimming pools. Working with the natural slopes on the site, we accepted that the access roads would wind to ascend and descend, sort of like going for a nice drive on a mountainside. I wanted to create an environment where everybody felt safe, supported, and had everything they'd expect from a luxury resort. So inspired by the gated community concept, we put an 8-foot wall around the entire site, security gates, CCTV, a guardhouse, and a 3-level reception and fitness building. It took time to get it right, but as I was self-funding this entire design process and I had priorities elsewhere, the project wasn't time sensitive. Once the layouts were confirmed, the internal specification could take place. We went for modern lighting, large format tiles internally and externally, textured walls, and bespoke timber cabinetry. At the end of the design phase, we had a scheme of 23 units. Now this was made up firstly on the ground floor of duplex townhouses. Each were 1,850 square foot with a flipped orientation. So on the ground floor, we had the bedrooms, and on the first floor, we had the living and swimming pools. This ensured they had a view of the sea. Next, we had the 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom units, which were each 2,150 square foot. Then we had 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom units, which were 2,600 square foot. And lastly, a 3,150 square foot, 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom, one-of-a-kind penthouse. And this, of course, was mine. My experience in the UK with planning did come in useful, but my team advised me on the finer details. We compiled a planning submission with architectural drawings, structural calculations and drawings, full mechanical and engineering plans, a fire risk management plan, and documentation describing how the site would impact the immediate space surrounding the proposed development. Ordinarily, you would not submit this level of detail and information for planning. However, we foresaw this unprecedented development, raising a lot of eyebrows and questions. So we approached with a preemptive strategy. After a not too painful planning process, which included a meeting with a government official to discuss the plans in depth, we got planning for the site in July of 2012. It was now time to look at the build costs, and I decided a locally based quantity surveyor would be the best option. I waited till this stage to price the build because I feared while going through the planning process there could be changes. Now this can happen as the planning department and local residents may have recommendations which the site needs to accommodate. With planning approved and a cost plan, it was time to do market research. We needed to identify who the potential buyers could be. It is key to ascertain the individuals or investment companies who fit the profile. The research pointed to local professionals, St. Lucians returning to the island, and foreign investment from British, American, European, and Canadians with disposable income in search of a second home in a tropical setting. Now we know our target market, we need to develop a marketing campaign and strategically target them. The marketing for Ashville Heights has to be approached in two ways. Not only is the development in competition with other sites in St. Lucia, but also with other developments in the Caribbean as a whole. So I need to show potential investors and homeowners that St. Lucia is the island for them. The St. Lucian Tourist Board is one of the most active in the Caribbean, world-class telecommunication services, a stable economic and political environment, minimal taxes on resale of investments, no estate taxes, no inheritance tax. A comparable purchase in Barbados would be 5 times the price. Those are some of the benefits about investing in St. Lucia. It's now about creating a marketing strategy to share all the benefits of investing in Ashville Heights. Work stopped on Ashville Heights again at this point due to the intensity of my business endeavours in the UK. Fast forward to 2024, now I'm revisiting the scheme. The world is a completely different place. I feel that Ashville Heights and myself are out of touch, so I decided to sit down with a local real estate agent and a personal friend of mine who also happens to be a high-end design and build, hotel and development contractor. Do you think it's a problem that the site itself is only 1.79 acres?
That's a massive site. You're going up, so you're doing the right thing compared to some developers that I see. They try to spread prime real estate. I don't think it's just a St. Lucian problem, but I think prime real estate around the world is getting slimmer and slimmer as the days goes by. So what do? You can't keep spreading horizontally. You have to go vertical.
Every unit has its own swimming pool. The cost to have a swimming pool at that height, the structural work that's going to need to go into it.
That may make your cost a little bit prohibitive. If clients wanted that pool up there, you give them the option of purchasing it prior to, rather than asking somebody to pay probably, and I'm just shooting figures out, but probably 75 grand extra for a pool up in the air. You might as well put a communal pool and give them that option instead. Knowing the Ashville site, you do get a view from almost any floor you will be in.
It's very hard for me to tell because it's all overgrown at the moment.
I went there, and from ground floor, you do have ocean view overlooking Pigeon Island.
Does there need to be a helicopter landing pad on top of this? Is there a trick that I'm missing here?
The quality of your actual build and the quality of your fixtures, fittings, appliances. So what kind of tile you have on the floor, the type of doors that you have, the types of windows that you have, your air conditioning, the countertops, your cupboards, all those things will play an integral role. That will differentiate whether you high end, whether you mid end, or whether you low down the line. And for where this development is positioned, I think definitely it screams, it begs, it calls for a very high-end type of build.
However many levels it is now, it will have to grow, planning permitting, to make the building a lot taller. In your experience in planning, in an area like this, looking to go higher, you think is a problem?
No restriction. You're not waterfront, but you're not far from the water. Ashville is probably, 5 minutes away from one of our best beaches, Pigeon Island.
Somebody's traveling, they're visiting the island, just a backpack.
Yeah,
They want somewhere to stay in the north. Somebody buys it. It's an investment for them. Airbnb is a massive thing at the moment. Do you think that I should incorporate any one bedrooms?
Definitely you can. It will be worth your while.
Would you suggest building this in steel and having concrete formwork, or just pouring everything in concrete?
I would not recommend actually just pouring everything, because again, a solid pour does not allow you in the future is flexibility. So I would recommend blocks and drywall on the inside for your internal walls within one unit. There is separating walls which will separate unit A from unit B. That can be solid filled, a lot more flexibility, faster, it's cleaner, more high-end, pristine looking build.
I guess it's time to go back to the drawing board. Perhaps we can work on it together and see how we can alter the scheme to make it work.
Yeah.
Oh man, much appreciated, Kurt.
No problem, sir.
Thank you. So, we are at a point where I need to decide what to do next, and there is a lot to consider. Priorities have changed since the purchase and planning, which has cost me, but currently the site hasn't acquired any debt. Is it worth selling with planning and putting a cash injection into my business pursuits in the UK? But I do want a home in St. Lucia, so maybe sell with planning and find another suitable plot for my personal home. If I do build it and all goes according to plan, do I want the responsibility of managing and operating a site like this on completion? The current market and global economic climate is currently uncertain. If I build, even with a fantastic marketing team, will they sell? And if mid-build there's an economic crash, will the debt be recalled? But there's a general view that the market will improve. If I build in 2 years, will I have the benefit of a general market rise? And I need to look outside the development. What are buyers' options? It's all about supply and demand. If there are more units available than people are buying, it becomes a buyer's market and the prices are driven down. Have I alienated and narrowed my market, building a high-end luxury development in this location? Should I scale back the development and make it more manageable? Or should I go for it and make it even bigger? As the site becomes bigger, the cost per square foot reduces, and then we can sell at a more competitive rate in the local market. Fortunately, we have a good reputation in the construction industry, and there are financial institutions who want to fund the development. But just because they want to fund, does that mean I should take on the debt? Are my valuations accurate? And is it possible to be accurate? In the Caribbean luxury market, there's a saying, the property is worth as much as someone's willing to pay for it. I am confident I can make it work and be a success. But just because I can, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right decision to make. Let me know what you think of Ashville Heights and what you think I should do.